Hey, what's up everyone? This is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com, and in this video we're going to break down the song by Selena Gomez called Lose You to Love You. I'm going to be sharing some music production tips along the way. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So let's start focusing on that intro section, which is really just highlighting a upright piano for the beginning verses. Let's just take a listen to the tone. So you have that nice upright, roomy type of vibe, very intimate. And it's actually one of my favorite type of piano sounds. So for this, I'm gonna go over to Contact by Native Instruments, and I'm gonna be using the Una Corda library. And it's an upright piano without the actual body, but there's a really cool nuances that they add on there to give more of that authentic intimacy vibe that we're looking for. Let's focus in on the chord progression that we hear during the verses, because it plays a huge role in allowing the melody to shine very much in the forefront of the song. So we're in the key of E major. So that's right. That's going to be E, G sharp, and B. Now, what we're going to do is, instead of playing the E major chord in first inversion, means that the E is in the root, the first note you played. We're going to start off with having the E major chord in the second inversion, meaning that the B of that chord is going to be the first note that we're going to start with. Okay, so we'll start there. And the progression is a 1, meaning that you're playing the first note of the E major, the first chord of the E major scale. Then we're going to go to the second, which is the F sharp. And then over to the 6, and down, close that off with the 5th. Now that relationship between the 6 is so good, because that's what's saying, here's the end of that phrase, here's the end of that bracket, onto a new section. And a lot of times, some mistakes that people make when starting to write their songs is that there's no definitive close statement to their progressions, allowing the melody allowing it to feel like an end of a sentence. So you want to think about that when you're creating chords. It's like, is this a run-on sentence? Is this just me babbling on? Or is this for sure, this feels like a complete thought, a complete phrase? So once again, we got the 1, 2, 6, and then 5. Keep that in mind, because that sets the tone. That has a specific vibe and tone to it. And as we listen to the song, it really paves the way for a serious, it's not happy, it's not melancholy, but there's hope in there, right? There's hope. So it's not completely depressing, but it just gives a nice serious tone to it. So here it is. So let's go ahead and put that down. I'm going to choose a slot here in my session view and put the metronome on and start to record. And notice the placement of that last chord in the turnaround. It's not happening in the same timing as the other 3 chords. So it has this longer pause here. And then we turn around with that last chord here on the 6. So I'll just highlight everything and hit Command U to quantize it. All right, now let's focus in on that progression that's happening to transition from that verse to the pre/chorus. And it's really interesting because we're going from that 6 to that 5, and then we introduce the 4, that A, right? Now when I'm saying these numbers 4, I'm meaning the 4th note or the 4th chord in an E major scale. So you got to keep that in mind when following along. But here, you got to understand, when we go from that 5 to the A, it's like, it's like the sense of relief. It's this introducing this new thing. So these, going from 5 to 4 or 3 to 4, those are nice little unlocking of the locks kind of thing with your progressions. So you can keep that in mind. So we'll start right here on the 4, and then they go to the 1 and back to the 5, and then they go to this 3 right here. Now since we're in the 3, we're going right back to the 4 to introduce that. You see what I mean here? We're going from that, it introduces that 4 really well. So I like to call these the neighbor visiting home, or, you know, neighbor coming over to my house kind of thing. And neighboring, so you've got a 3, it's the neighbor to the 4, the 5, neighbor to the 4. Whenever they visit, you know, you're adding some excitement there. So I don't know if that sounds weird or not, but all right, now let's talk about some of the atmospheric things that can really help create more of the mood and tension that we're going for, that we hear in the reference of this song. So for that, I'm gonna have a pad just mirroring the same chord progressions that we've been using. And so let's go ahead and create a MIDI track here and use our wavetable. You can use any 2 oscillator synth that you might have in your DAW to follow along. I'm gonna hold the Option key just to click and drag that over, so we're copying the same exact chords. Let me solo that. And we're going for something dark here. We don't want anything too bright, so that's gonna narrow down the waveform. Sawtooth and square tend to be a lot more brighter, so let's narrow it down to triangle, sine. We'll start with sine and see where we go here. Okay, so let's just filter this out, down a little bit of the release there, and maybe even use a little bit of unison. This will give us some stereo width here. Cool. Now let's just insert a reverb directly on there. I'm using stock reverb here. I'm going to go halfway and see what we have. And I'm going to low cut. I'm going to take away some of the lows here. And I'm going to go a little bit above the sine. Now, some synthesizers that you might have won't give you the ability to go between a sine and a triangle, you know. So let's just see what the triangle will do. I like the sine, and we'll layer that with another oscillator and maybe make this a little bit brighter, or just keep it sine and go a whole octave higher. So the second oscillator would be an octave higher. We're just gonna lower the volume of the second oscillator and detune it slightly. Now layer that with the piano. So it's adding a nice lush underneath that, but it's got a little bit of sparkle on the top as well. I feel like Bob Ross here, adding some happy trees and sparkles and stuff like that. But just something that kind of shines a little bit on the top end. So for that, I'll duplicate the piano track and just Command D. So we have an exact replica there. And let's focus on this. But for this, we're gonna use a filter. We're gonna just cast out some of the high end here. And let's just play the verse. And we're gonna do a little bit of reverb directly on top of that. But some grain delay would be really cool. And the grain delay is just kind of gonna add a lot of those artifacts on here. And the grain delay specifically, you can find any type of delay plugin that might have this effect on there. And let's just back off the 100% dry and wet. And the feedback. And see what that's like. And next we have this cool growling type of bass that's just hidden underneath that, especially introduced in the pre and chorus section, which really gives it more attitude and just all around power to that section. For this, we'll go back to the wavetable and we're gonna go ahead and now we're gonna use a sawtooth for this. So let's go to the sawtooth and we'll just go ahead and copy the progression over. But in this case, we're only gonna focus on the lower notes here, the bass notes. So I'll just highlight these here, hit 0 to deactivate them, and we just have this low note. Let's play this. Now, what we're gonna do is put 2 oscillators on the same sawtooth, but we're gonna really detune the second one. And we're gonna go ahead and bring the filter down and give a nice little peak here, bump with the resonance. And we're going to set it from polyphonic to monophonic. Let's add a little bit of drive. That nice little Hoover bass there. Maybe add a little sub. No, take that off. Let's see what that sounds like with these guys here. And if we wanted more of that growl to be present, let's just open up the frequency. And so that type of bass is really good to have underneath these chord progressions because it's got the sustain, it's got the growl, and it's got the low end presence. It's one of my favorite basses to kind of do in these nice power ballad type of vibes. And then we'll wrap it up with adding some of that pizzicato plucking that we hear in the second verse. So for that, I'm gonna use another Contact library. This one's created by Output, and it's the analog strings. And the preset I'm using is Fuzz Factor. And there's plenty of awesome pluck presets that are on there. Just really like the texture of these type of sounds. All right, so let's go ahead and put that down. And this is more of a call and response. So we have the initial downbeat and then the chord response. Command A to select everybody and Command U to just line them up and quantize them. So it's cool. And I'll just send a little bit of reverb to this. Actually, there's some effects on here that we can use. A little bit of delay embedded inside the... Cool. So I hope this video was helpful, encouraging, and inspiring in some way. And as my gift to you for watching this video, I'd love to send you a sample pack. It's filled with loops, construction kits, one-shots, sounds that you can use in your projects. If you're starting out and you need some sounds to use to help inspire you and create music, go ahead and download this absolutely free sample pack. Just click the link below in the description box, give me your email, and I'll send this to your inbox right away. This is royalty free, so you can use it in your projects and share the music that you're making with these sounds with the rest of the world. And it works in any DAW. You don't need just Ableton Live to use it. You can simply click, drag and drop them into your DAW and you're ready to go. Once again, you can download this by clicking the link below in the description box, or you can visit beatacademy.com/packed. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Hide your wife, hide your kids, tell everybody that you want to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.